Hey, y'all. If you are a United States citizen, an American, this is going to be one of the most important videos that you can ever watch because it has to do with intellectual properties. Has to, especially if you're one of the, if I have my numbers right, one of the 40 million people who have lost their homes, had their homes stolen from them by unlawful foreclosure, that have had all their possessions stolen from them, that have been evicted by the gunpoint of sheriff's deputies. This video is especially for you. We're going to talk about very plain language what's happened and what we can do about it, why these things happened, why we had our homes stolen from us by unlawful foreclosure, why our names were defamed, why our credibility was destroyed, and why we were left with nothing. This has to do with the deregulation of derivatives. That now derivative is based on an underlying financial asset. And that underlying financial asset is the birth name. First, middle, last, capitalized name that was taken from us by a pledge given by our mother. Of course, she never knew. No mother knows this because nobody ever questions it because it's so well kept secret. But this was widely successful because it's made the United States of America the most powerful, wealthiest nation in the world on the backs of our capitalized name. That was the cost of birthright citizenship. So they decided again to do that to the derivative, the first, middle, initial, last name. They said, let's do it again. Let's do this whole thing again. Let's take the name from these people. Let's take their public personality from them, and let's change the genetic outcome of them. Let's turn them into artificial persons. That artificial persons, not in the sense of artificial persons in the sense of genetic cloning, shall we say? And let's go ahead and just exploit the shit out of them. And that's what they've done. And they've made millions and billions and trillions of dollars off of us by doing this. And it's not their money. It's not their profits. They belong to that profits, and all those profits, royalties, revenues, rights, non-financial and financial rights belong to us, stolen from us by the deregulation of derivatives and by certain various acts that were passed around the year 2000. That includes the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act that killed, of course, that was the final nail in Glass-Steagall that prevented banks and insurance companies from collaborating with one another. Well, you got rid of that, and that's exactly what they've done. And that's why the economy was collapsed, because everything was insured 7 ways from Sunday. But what this all has to do with patents. It has to do with automated patents, trademarks, copyrights. If you are trying to execute this in a court of law, in the civil law, you're in the wrong part of the law. You don't belong there. You don't have a right there. You're not standing there because they're civil law. They're operating under common law principles, and they're operating under a statutory scheme that Congress passed that gives you nothing. You have nothing because that statutory scheme imposes irrevocable powers of attorney on you. And you can see this, and this is evident with Net Merged Nations Bank Agreement. That was the concealed agreement that we executed, that we didn't know we executed, that was attached to that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac uniform instrument that we all were lured into signing on the understanding that this was an ordinary course mortgage loan. Well, it wasn't an ordinary course mortgage loan. It was a lease agreement. And it was an intellectual properties transaction. And so what they've done is they've stolen that first, middle, last capitalized name, and they have valued that for very high value with annuities, insurances, all kinds of things. That belongs to you, belongs to me. Part of our estate that goes to the part of the estate that goes to the birth name. And that's what they've stolen from us. And they did this in the guise of a trade secret, and that's exactly what it is. It's the government's, it's the legislature's commerce and trade finance, business/government/economic model that is intellectual properties based. It's all intellectual properties. It's all about intellectual properties. It's all about schemes. It's all about no, schemes to make money, schemes to for all kinds of things. Well, as a matter of fact, all codes and statutes are schemes anyhow. It's all it is. It's metaphysical schemes. And so what we need to do is you need to go to the source. We need to go right to the director of the United States Patents and Trademarks Office, because that person has the authority to direct the correction of record. Of course, they won't do it because that's what my little group have been trying to do, is trying to get them to do this thing. And as a matter of fact, when we submitted, me and my little group submitted our petitions to the USPTO, namely to the Office of Petitions of the Office of Petitions of the United States Patents and Trademarks Office to the Director of the United States Patent and Trademarks Office. We got stonewalled, we got lied to, we got manipulated, we got deceived, we got into all kinds of bullshit, and we did that for about 3.5 years. And we finally got done with that. Finally came across, buried within the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, buried within that, within the legal processes of the United States Patent and Trademarks Office, SF-95. We filed an SF-95. And so they're still ignoring those things. But guess what? There's other ways. There's other ways that the record can be corrected. And that is through a liaison to the ISO standards, which we'll go through that in another video, through the ISO standards and through the United States Standard Ledger, through Treasury, that has scenarios for correcting the record. And when the record is incorrect, it must be corrected. And when you when you request assistance from your representative or senator, you're doing so with a privacy release agreement, but you're also doing it with the people that they connect with. They connect with liaisons, so the liaisons of the IRS, or the liaisons of Department of Labor, or the liaisons of Homeland Security, or whomever. The liaisons. So the ISO standards has liaisons that implement these standards, and also liaisons that implement the correction of record with the standard ledger. So what I'm saying here is, if you're going through the civil courts, fuck the courts. They're not going to help you. You're wasting your time. And I think you've known that, because the courts will not help you. The courts don't have the authority to help you. What you're trying to do, and even if you go at it from this way, if I try to go with it and try to go at them with go at the court with intellectual properties thing, they won't let it go through. Why? Because you're piercing the corporate veil. The courts won't let you do that. And you're in the wrong court of law. Now, if you want to be in the right court of law, if you want to file a case, file it with the Patent Trial and Appeal Board. File it with that. Or you can file other filings with the United States Patent and Trademarks Office, which we'll go through in future videos here. But this is where we need to be, folks. This is where we need to be to gain back our freedoms and liberties and take the properties that were stolen from us, and to restore our good name and our character, so on and so forth. And of course, this is all done privately. So what I'm revealing to you right now is the state secrets. These are secrets. These are trade secrets, but that nobody knows about. And apparently I was the only one that knew about it, because when we filed our petitions and everything to the United States Patent and Trademarks Office, we paralyzed them. We paralyzed them because of their conflicts of interest. This is a nation that is run by patent attorneys, patent law firms. How it runs and operates this country, because everything is based on patents and trademarks. Everything. And the legislature ceded its power to patent law firms, intellectual law firms, which are, of course, the ones that represent all these patents, all these corporations, all these tech bros, all these billionaire buddies, and all this stuff. Elon Musk, who's the other guy? Facebook guy. The reason why they're billionaires is because they're exploiting our capitalized name. They're exploiting it for their own reasons. But hey, here's the thing. You are using a property that belongs to me It's not me what you're doing. What you're doing is you're doing all these different schemes. It's not me because I would never agree to these things and you would never agree to these things. Because who would willingly agree to give over an asset or property that belongs to them? As a matter of fact, an asset and property that the legislature has a duty to fucking protect. But they didn't. They gave it away. Now, who is this? Is this going to be Democrats or Republicans? It's both of them, guys. Deregulation came underneath Clinton administration, but it really took off during the Bush administration. And what happened? It accelerated so quickly that the business of banking, Merrill Lynch, abandoned the standards. They crashed the economy purposely. Why? So that they can collect on all the estates that was building in profits. That was a new business model. That was default. Collections on defaults. Defaults are the most profitable thing there is. It's the most profitable thing there is. It used to be the thing that was most feared amongst the banking industry was a person's default in a home because they lose. Not this time. Not with this stuff. With this, it's profitable. It's more profitable to get people to default. Why? Because the hidden agreements within patents and trademarks that forces irrevocable powers, meaning that you cannot revoke those. And don't come back to me with this bullshit. It's such and such. If a contract is void and then all that bullshit. I don't want to hear that shit. Okay, because it's bullshit. Okay, you're preaching to the choir, and I guess you forget your code sections. You don't need code sections here. Okay, well, you don't need code sections here. You need to know the rules by which all this was initiated and crafted. And these rules are the rules in patents and trademarks, rules that are immoral, and laws that are ambiguous. When you understand patents and trademarks, you understand the schemes that are being forged within patents and trademarks, you see very quickly that law is ambiguous. It's completely ambiguous. All these codes and statutes are completely ambiguous because the rules are immoral. The schemes that they're crafting are immoral. It's identity theft. It's crossing jurisdictions. There is no jurisdiction when you make up a patent. There's no jurisdiction. It's set to a jurisdiction by codes and statutes, which of course are ambiguous because the rules are immoral. Why the rules are immoral? Because they weren't disclosed to us. It was kept secret from us. It was kept hidden from us. So that's the story. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Anyhow, if you like this video, please put a like, subscribe, and let's continue this conversation. Thank you all for listening.